I've returned for another visit, the second of the year, to Worksop Priory here, a place that I love to come and visit. Holds a lot of fond memories for me, but although I love coming here, each visit always has a degree of trepidation. You never know who you're going to bump into or what you're going to bump into. There's lots of antisocial behaviour in the grounds of this fabulous old priory, but I'm not here for that, and there's good news already, and maybe it's divine intervention, you could say. Apart from the fact that I'm here again in the grounds of this fabulous priory, there is no other religious connection to this video, although in a strange way I suppose there very well could be, because before making my way to Worksop I posted a message on Facebook warning people that I was turning up in Worksop so that they could go elsewhere, and it seems to have worked because it's delightfully quiet. But maybe there's been some holy or divine intervention from him upstairs already, because today the church is open and I can hear somebody playing with their organ inside. But that divine intervention may also be in my favour, because when I came here on June the 22nd last year to count Liburnum species A, I found a total of 61, mostly old juveniles, and dotted around the walls on all four sides pretty much. Today has been met with greater success already almost, because on that first bit of the wall there, if I can carefully point either that side of the entrance, there are Liburnum species A, and there's approximately 59 of them. So what's unusual about that, you're asking? Well, that section there has been unoccupied by Liburnum species A since, well, before 2019. Dillis was still alive when I had Liburnum species A on there, and already there's 59. Hopefully then we're going to be in for a good count, unless the majority of the 61 that I had here on June the 22nd are all now over there. Well, after the success of finding 59 Liburnum species A the other side of the doorway here, pleased to say that there are yet more on here, and this little spot here, this almost 3-foot section, has always been the best site for the largest aggregations over the years, ever since 2012 when Dillis and I first found this species here, and it's still used. There must be some certain attraction about it, because there's similar sort of architraving around the walls of the priory. But the count is now on to 91, and this was the largest aggregation. There was about 30 odd here. But although Dillis and I learnt pretty much everything there was to know about Liburnum species A on the walls of Worksop Priory, and especially regarding its distribution, we were never able to work out where the juveniles are, or where they spend most of the time. And I'm talking the very young juveniles. Are they down in the ground layer? Are they further up? Or are they in this area in which we usually find sort of large juveniles and sub-adults? These are all sub-adults that are found today. That was something we were never able to find out. Had this been a safe place to come along on a night time with a torch and look at the walls, we would have done so. But unfortunately, it isn't. Now then, you're not looking at a Harvestman here. This isn't Liburnum species A or any other Harvestman pilio. This is Pholcus phalangoides, a daddy long-legged spider, very appropriately named and easy to mix up with Harvestman. The typical habitat for this spider has been the dark cupboards in kitchens and dark corners in rooms and in cellars. Anywhere where it's dark, this spider seeks it out. Over the past 10 years, this spider has grown great guns, and it's increased enormously. It's by far the commonest spider in my house. I'm finding these almost daily, different specimens turning up in the corners of many rooms at home. But my shed is full of these, but they're also turning up outside in situations like this. Although technically not this situation, because we're looking under the lip of a tomb here outside the southern side of Worksop Priory. But it's this kind of situation and the changes to our climate that now means that Falcus phalangoides can quite easily survive the colder weather of winter. 10 years ago it would have struggled to have done that. But they don't build sheet web, so don't be fooled into thinking that this one's built a nice sheet web, because there's another visitor here tucked away. I can see the forelegs of it and you can't, but it's the noble false widow Steatota nobilis, which is also just under here, and that's whose web this spider is sat on. But there is another Falcus phalangoides, a juvenile, not 10 inches away from this one. But this is a super example of an adult cellar spider, Falcus phalangoides. And it's also a fabulous example of how species are now able to survive the winters here and are doing very well on it too. Well, I've had to resort to using flash here for this one, and to be honest, it is showing it up particularly well. And this is a immature male Libunum species A. You can determine the sexes of Libunum Harvestman quite early on, and the small body of this one is indicative that it is going to molt out ultimately into a male, but it's got at least 2 more molts before maturity. But they are beautifully marked. That sort of cream background to the top of the body, and then there's that thick dark metallic green stripe that runs from the ocularium right across the rest of the body. Very attractive indeed, and I'm having to use flash here because this one is tucked under another tomb on the southern side. This was a tomb that Dillis and I often used to get a small aggregation, often just anything from 2 up to about half a dozen or so. And it's nice to see one back here again. So this one takes us on to 92. Well, it might look as though I'm sat in somebody's grave or halfway into sitting in somebody's grave, but I'm not. Part of this southern side of Worksop Priory is sunk below ground level, and I'm actually sort of half sat in that. I'm here because I always used to look, and we always used to get small numbers of Libunum species A in this particular section. They're not widespread across the southern wall. They're mostly found in large aggregations or small aggregations on that western side, and we stopped seeing them years ago here on this eastern side. But I have found a small aggregation of 5 here, which takes us up to 97. So we're going to hit 3-figure count today, which is what I would expect. And they're all there's still 1 juvenile here out of this 5, otherwise they are all still sub-adults. But nice to see them back here again, another section where they haven't been seen here for many years. It's nice to see that old haunts of aggregations of Libunum species A are now being reused. At the top of the wall there, just under that archway, there is another nice aggregation of approximately 32. That's the best I can count from photographs I've taken, and it's not been used that much in the last couple of years, but 32 is a very nice count indeed, and I'm hopeful that we could get certainly over 150 today, but at the moment we're on approximately 132. Well, here's the northern side of Worksop Priory, It's more enclosed here, and the walls are shaded. Only gets a little bit of early morning sun in midsummer, but parts of what you can't see here won't get any sun at all. And 10 years ago it was only very small numbers that we used to get here, but evidence from the last couple of years that I've found seems to show, or at least indicate, that it is becoming increasingly in larger numbers here, but not big, not great numbers, but much larger than what they used to be. So we'll see how many we can get as we walk around. Lots of nooks and crannies to look in here. They can be quite elusive, even with a leg span of about 6 inches as they are currently. Well, here's the first Liboon species A that I found on the northern side, and it's an immature or subadult male. This has got one more molt before maturity, and you can see the difference between this one and the immature male or subadult male that I showed you on the southern side. Notice how the green is more extensive here. It's losing those creamy markings. The creamy markings that there are limited to areas either side of the ocularium, which is where the eyes are housed. This one's already lost one leg, which is not unusual in these long-legged arachnids, but they're beautifully coloured. Underneath, their body is entirely cream or yellowish cream. It doesn't have any of the marbled coloration of the dorsal surface. They're quite beautiful little things. Well, here's another group that's right in one of the recesses, and there's more in this group than I've at first counted, and I will have another recount, but the ones that's here will take us well over 150. But they're really well tucked in, so there's lots of places here on this northern side that they can tuck themselves away in, and they're quite well protected. This is a good sized group for the northern walls. Well, there's another decent group here, and with these I haven't got all of them that's here in this frame, but at the moment we're on 185, and I've still got quite a bit of the northern wall and then the western side of the priory to cover yet, so I'm very pleased with how this total's going. More than I was expecting, and definitely increased aggregation size on this northern side. Well, I must admit, it's been a pleasantly enjoyable visit to Worksop Priory here today. I do love coming here, it's just that the last few years it's been tainted with the less desirables of society, shall we say, but today it's been very pleasant and it's remained very quiet. Thank the Lord, you could say. Perhaps he did listen to me after all, but he's the only one that ever does. But walked around all 4 walls and sides of the Worksop Priory here, produced a total of 203 Libunum species A, and that's a cracking count. I didn't expect to be anywhere near that today after the 61 of 3 weeks ago. So what's also pleasing is the increased number now on the northern walls of the priory. That's very nice to see indeed. But it's another few weeks before I come here again, so I won't bother you with another video of Libunum species A, but it is part of the work that Dilys and I always did, and I always have done, in quite a privileged position to be able to monitor a colony that's been here earlier than anywhere else in the UK. But also nice to sit at the side of this Antirrhinum and bring back some childhood memories of when we used to pick the flowers off, and we used to do that with them, pretend that they were talking. I haven't done that since I was a kid, and now I'm a pensioner and retired I can do it again, because as you all know, any of you with relatives of a pensionable age, they all gradually start to revert back to the childhood. So I'm going to start here.